are no strings on me.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Connor, your primitive AK here, back with another video for you guys today. Today we are here with the top 5 best Call of Duty Warzone loadouts. These are some of the best loadouts that I have come across and have actually gotten me killed quite a few times inside of Warzone. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys showing the love and support on the road to 12,000 subscribers. We just recently hit 11k, so there's actually quite a decent amount of people that are actually watching my videos but are not subbed to the channel. So if you're part of that 80 to 90% that have regularly watched my videos in the last 30 days, make sure you guys hit that sub button so you guys never miss another video from me. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into these loadouts. So the top 5 best loadouts for Modern Warfare. Now I want to make it clear that I did not come up with all of these loadouts. One of these was actually a friend of mine, Kevin, who suggested some of these loadouts to me, and he's another good player of mine, good friend of mine. So if you guys want to go ahead and check him out as well, link will be in the description. But coming in at number 5 is going to be the Dragunov overkill setup with the MP5, and the attachments for the Dragunov are going to be the monolithic suppressor, your 660mm extended barrel, your thermal powered scope, and the 15 round mags, followed by fully loaded. Now, so one thing I do want to point out is any class setup that I use, which is pretty much always going to have a sniper due to the long range fights, is always going to have the fully loaded perk. Now, if you guys aren't aware, when you pick up your fully kitted loadout inside of the loadout kit from the supply crate that drops, you actually get full ammo when you use the fully loaded perk. So this is definitely a must-have perk on all of your weapons, whether it be AR, SMG, shotguns, snipers. Every single weapon needs to have the fully loaded perk. Ammunition is going to be the 15 round mags, and for the MP5 we're going to be rocking the subsonic integral suppressor. Ammunition is going to be the 10mm for the extra damage and also the range, stifle grip tape to increase the ADS, fully loaded as usual, and the stock to increase your ADS speed. Now, the reason why I put this one at number 5 is because this one can do some pretty decent damage at range with your Dragunov, but on top of that, the MP5 is really only good for close quarters combat. So if you're going for high kill rounds, or just you're going hot drops and you want to pick out the best possible kit for just bum rushing your enemy, this might be one of the best options. But if you feel that an AR would be better, that may be something you want to swap out, but that's entirely up to you. But regardless, do not underestimate the MP5, as it does deal quite a bit of punch. And the perk setup is going to be cold-blooded, overkill obviously for the dual weapons, and also tune-up. Now I know in the description it doesn't show here because I'm actually in a private match. I was showing these loadouts, but tune-up actually increases your revive time by 25%. This is a must-have perk for Warzone. I'm telling you, there is no other perk that is worth it. Shrapnel is good if you want extra smokes and C4s, but really tune-up is really what's going to help you out in those long range fights, especially with trying to get revives with people that are thirsting, because there is a lot of thirsting in this mode. And the C4 and smoke grenades is going to help you out with pushing through long range fights where you have a lot of people sitting with thermal scope. And speaking of thermal scope, cold-blooded is another must-have, because thermal scope is a big thing that people are using now. Not everyone is using it, because obviously there's a lot of new players that don't know how the game works, but you want to be ahead of the game, so cold-blooded, so that way you won't show up on thermal sites. Moving on, the next class setup is going to be the M4 XRK variant with the perks of cold-blooded, overkill, and tune-up, with your secondary as the AX50. Let's go ahead and get into the M4 attachments. It's going to be the Corvus Custom Marksman Barrel, your integral hybrid sight. Now, normally in multiplayer, I always tell you guys to either not use a sight at all or to use the GI Mini Reflex, but Warzone's a little bit different. You're going to have to mix your loadout a tad bit to kind of compensate for a lot of those long range fights. So this has a nice little dual combo of both long range and short range fights, so definitely recommend using that scope in this case. No laser and no stock and no muzzle in this case. You're not really going to need it. Your ammunition is going to be the 50 round. The 60 round is good also, but you want to have at least some type of handling on your weapon, so the 50 round is going to compensate for that. Your stifle grip tape to increase the ADS speed with the weapon, which will certainly help you out a lot. And your perk's going to be fully loaded. Obviously, I want to make it clear, every weapon once again is going to have fully loaded. The perk setup as well is going to be the same for every single class setup, because there really is no other better perk setup in this game for this specific mode. Cold-blooded is just is a godsend when it comes to people using thermal scopes. So I don't really recommend any other perk setup except for the one you see here. Same goes for your lethals and your tacticals, smoke grenade and C4. So I'm not really going to cover these two anymore with the perks, with the setups. But for your AX50, you're going to want to rock the 32 barrel. Your optics going to be the variable zoom scope. Now, the reason why we're using variable zoom scope instead of thermal is because of the fact that I just finished telling you guys that a lot of people are going to be using cold-blooded. If you're using a thermal sight, you're not going to be able to see them as well. So that's where the variable zoom scope is going to come in clutch and help you out in seeing those players at longer ranges. But if you've noticed that people aren't really using cold-blooded that much, you're more than welcome to switch back to the thermal sniper scope. We're going to be rocking the Singard Arms Assassin's stock, which is going to increase your ADS speed just a tad bit, followed by the Stiple Grip Tape with fully loaded. So this one is pretty good. This is a pretty standard loadout that you're going to see quite often. However, the reason why I put this one at number 4 is because obviously the much better sniper to use in this case is actually the HDR, but do not underestimate the AX50. It does have some pretty decent handling compared to the HDR, but the HDR is going to pack a little bit more punch. But definitely recommend checking this one out because the M4 is another gun that you should definitely be concerned about, as it does do quite a decent amount of damage to people, especially in those mid to long range fights, but it does excel a lot better at the close range. Moving on, number 3 is going to be the FAMAS paired with the HDR Grassy Knoll variant. Now, I want to make it very clear, this is a pretty underrated weapon that a lot of people are not actually using, and the reason for that is because everybody assumes that the M4 is going to be the best weapon in the game. While that may be the case, the FAMAS is an absolute monster, both in multiplayer and inside of Warzone, and this gun actually literally shreds people's armors away in 2 bursts, especially at close range. Especially if you land your headshots, they're basically dead. A lot of people underestimate this weapon's capability. I firsthand have had a bad experience with this weapon in terms of getting killed by it numerous times, so I strongly recommend you guys check this weapon out. If you're an accurate player and you hit your shots, definitely recommend checking out the FAMAS because this weapon is something that you should definitely take a look into. Let's get into the attachments. The 24.4 sniper barrel, your scout combat optic to deal with those long range fights, and also the 50 round mags followed by commando foregrip and also fully loaded. Definitely recommend checking this one out because this is an underrated weapon that a lot of people seem to be overlooking. Everybody wants to gravitate towards the M4. I'm telling you, check this weapon out. It is definitely something you should take a look into. Moving on with the HDR, now I want to make it clear, the next class setups are going to have the HDR as well, but for the most part, these are the best attachments for the HDR, so they're pretty much going to be the same for almost every single one. Your monolithic suppressor is going to keep you off that radar just a tad bit. However, they're still going to be able to hear you if they have a good headset. Your barrel is going to be the 26.9 because obviously every fight's going to be long range with your snipers, so you want to have the best possible barrel. Your ADS speed isn't really going to matter too much. Thermal sniper scope to deal with people at longer ranges to see through smoke as well, but if you're noticing a lot of people are using cold-blooded, switch off to the variable zoom scope. That'll help you out on that front. Your F.A.Q Stalker Scout is going to help you out with the ADS speed just a tad bit and fully loaded, so that way you get the most amount of ammo possible. And obviously the perk setup and the lethal and tactical pretty much going to be the same in all cases here, but definitely recommend checking this loadout. It's definitely pretty underrated. I recommend using the FAMAS pretty much almost all the time. Actually, I'm going to be using this one a lot more. Moving on to number 2, this one is actually a class setup that was suggested by my good friend Kevin. Kevin is known as Atrocity is King over on YouTube. I'll leave a link to his socials and channels in the description. He actually suggested this class setup to me. Now, I know what you're thinking, AK, why are we using 2 ARs? And we're going to get into that. Let's talk about this M4 gun first. You're going to have the Corvus Custom Marksman, your variable zoom scope, not the standard the sight that I mentioned earlier, your integral hybrid. We're going to be rocking the variable zoom scope, fully loaded with Stiple Grip Tape, and the ammunition is going to be the 4.58 SOCOUN 10 round mags, which is going to increase your damage at range, decrease fire rate, and ammo capacity. Now, the reason why we're using this is because this is going to basically be your semi-automatic or automatic sniper. You switch this gun into single fire mode. This is basically a DMR for you, and you're running rock the double AR setup because this weapon isn't going to chew up your animal that much. You want to pace your shot as much as possible with this type of weapon, and this type of setup, you have a very accurate AR, and you're also going to have a nice little sniper AR combo going on with this setup. And ammo's not really going to be an issue because, like I said, this is a single fire or automatic weapon, which only has 10 rounds in the mag, and it's going to certainly help you out with a lot of long range fights. This is definitely something that I recommend you guys check out, because a lot of people assume a double AR setup is not good. Not the case in this specific class. I recommend checking this one out. Your secondary is going to be the Grau 556, which is a DLC weapon released with the Season 2 update, and it's going to be the 26.4 Archangel barrel. Your GI mini reflex, your perk is fully loaded, ammo 50 round mags, and commando foregrip to compensate for some of the side-to-side recoil a bit. Definitely recommend using this weapon. This is basically an M4 but a little bit more accurate, or the AK-12 from Call of Duty Ghosts, if you guys remember that one. Very accurate weapon, very underrated, so I recommend you guys all check it out. And this is a very underrated setup that a lot of people have never checked out before, but I recommend giving this one a shot. Just give it a shot, see if you like it. If not, there's plenty of other loadouts that you guys can check out, but if you feel that something should be changed with this one, leave it in the comments box. But this one was suggested to me by Kevin, so shout outs to him. I actually enjoy this loadout, so definitely recommend checking this one out. And the last but not least, the #1 class setup for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Warzone is going to be the HDR with the Grau 556. This is about as good as it gets when it comes to loadouts. I personally prefer the Grau 556 over the M4 when it comes to the HDR combo, but for the most part, the attachments for the Grau 556 are exactly the same as I mentioned previously. 26.4 Archangel, GI mini reflex, 50 round mags, commando foregrip, and fully loaded. With your HDR combo, the same as last time, monolithic suppressor, 26.9 HDR Pro, your Merc thermal optic, your F.A.Q Stalker Scout, and a fully loaded perk to top things off. This is basically the bread and butter of Warzone. This is about almost the only thing you're going to see inside of Warzone when it comes to custom loadouts. You're going to see the HDR pretty much every single time, and the Grau 556 is about as good as it gets when it comes to great ARs to use inside of this game. And obviously the perk setup, like I mentioned, cold-blooded. There is no better perk than cold-blooded, and tune up to revive your teammates faster is a godsend for intense fights. So you're definitely going to want to use this one. I recommend using the C4 as well. Your smoke grenade, if you want to be a scumbag, you could throw your smoke grenade and snipe through the smoke and take out people at longer ranges. But for the most part, guys, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for showing all the love and support on the channel. If you guys have another loadout that I did not suggest in this video, be sure to leave it down in the comments box. I'm going to experiment with some more class setups as well. So if I come up with a better class setup, I'll be sure to leave another video, drop another video on these loadouts to help you guys out. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna go ahead and play some Warzone now. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next video. It's your boy Carnage, your Primitive AK, signing out. Peace out, fellas.